I know you're open to going vegan, and I don't want to pressure you, but I don't know if this would be the first time on the air, but would you like to start today and give the 22-day challenge a go?
I've also got lovely Brian in the studio here with me, who protested at SeaWorld last year, and I think got a little bit arrested over the whole situation. Yeah, and has been an activist for 4 years now.
Almost 4 years, yeah.
And the front runner in a front-running campaign that you run, Vegan Life Change.
Yeah.
Yeah, to have a little bit of a chat about the protest last year at SeaWorld and what got you involved around SeaWorld.
Yeah, so a bunch of beautiful individuals came together to protest SeaWorld because many of us believe or even know that it's wrong to use animals as forms of entertainment and captivity. And I by no means am a marine biologist. And we can get into all the nitties and gritties about what happens at SeaWorld, but they are training these highly intelligent animals to perform tricks. When I was a kid, my favourite animal was elephants, and I never even saw one before. And most people now would agree that it's wrong to ride around on elephants. And yet now we've got people not just riding on dolphins, but riding on them in front of hundreds of screaming people to make $1. Sure, SeaWorld might claim that they want to help animals and stuff like that, but they're continuing to do this over and over again. Why can't we connect with dolphins in other ways? You see places like, not a lot of people agree with Steve Irwin or whatever, he owns a zoo, but however, we come down to his show where he was showing animals up close and talking about them, or things on the Discovery Channel, and people are seeing these animals on a screen in the wild, and they get that connection, and they love those animals, and they want to help those animals from that. We don't need to see people jumping on and riding around on animals to want us to feel compassion for those animals.
Using them for our own
entertainment.
Yeah. We've already used them for years for our work and for everything else we can possibly use them for. So now it's coming down to circus, coming back around, I suppose, to the circus animal thing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, fully there. And I mean, like it said in the interview as well, I was quite unaware, especially as a child, about SeaWorld and like that it's not really a cool thing to have animals captive. So it's really great to get the awareness out there and just get it in people's minds, even to children, because start it young, start the thought process off young. These animals belong in hectares of free ocean.
Absolutely.
So there's that. And now, last year, you went down and did a bit of an action down there in actually SeaWorld. Now tell us a bit about that. What prompted you? Was it just all this, just decided one day, stuff it? Or was it something they actually did that got you going?
Well, mostly it's just obviously I'm an animal rights activist and I'm an abolitionist. Like, I truly believe to my core that animals should not be used for anything if it's not necessary anymore. Objects of entertainment, transport, food, whatever. If we can survive and be happy without using animals, why would we want to keep on doing that? And you get these businesses that are making tens of millions, hundreds of millions of more dollars, and they're doing this, and then it's going to keep on happening unless we do something about it and make it stop. So when we do things like this, where like, you want to call me a nut job, jumping in the water and stopping a show where these animals were going to be ridden around on and forced to perform tricks in front of all these people, and then the show gets shut down.
Right, so you went and protested at an actual, so there was, because I know they have show times and stuff, so you checked out the show times and you went, hey, I'm going to go bloody stand with me placards and me mates at the show and disturb the whole show. Yes.
Yeah.
That's so what happened when you were there? So you got up there, the show started?
Yeah, so there was 3 separate shows. I believe 2 dolphin shows and a seal show, and I was in the 3rd show. Which is a bit nerve-wracking for me.
I was the star of the 3rd show.
I'm not the star. It's definitely a group effort, and there's so many beautiful people involved.
Hey, that is such a brave thing to do, I must say. Like, I just think you guys paid to get into SeaWorld, yeah?
Yes, we did.
So you paid to get into SeaWorld. I bet you were shaking like leaves and just bam.
It's a bit interesting after being an activist for a while.
Okay.
And, some people might try to say that these people just want attention and stuff like that. But when we think about the victims, something kind of just switches off.
Well, the thing is, you kind of do want attention. That's not in the sense that people are saying, but that's the whole point of it. Yes, we do want attention.
Want attention for the animals. Yeah. So, for me, I ended up having a staff member trying to, tackle me in the water and stuff and, choking me underwater and whatever, blah, blah, blah.
It got physical.
Absolutely. I mean, I was non-aggressive. Yes. I didn't strike. I didn't handle him. Or anything. I think I tried to push him off me because he was literally choking me under the water.
Well, there you go. You're gonna lose breath soon.
Yeah. But with that, what followed is, that hit the media and it was on the news and they got people speaking, and sure, some people disagree. They're like, why would you want to approach this? But what? Major news reaching millions, tens of millions more people, and then the conversation started leading to things like this. We're on the radio show right now talking about it, right?
Exactly.
And it's like, why would this nut job, why would Brian jump in the water and almost drown? Why would he do that?
There's got to be some humane
Why would I risk my life?
That's it. And like you said, there will be some people going, oh, you idiots or whatever. But you've still, even them saying that, you've still got them thinking about it.
Absolutely.
It sparks the conversation. They might say, oh, you're an idiot, but they might come across someone else who challenges that thought, and they have a great conversation and discussion about it. And then something great might come out of that. That might change perspective for that person. It might just break open those little black holes in their brain with beautiful light and, see a new perspective, which is really, I think, really cool and great in this age and world 100%. That we live in.
Because, at first, they're upset. They're thinking about themselves like, I paid to see this. I paid.
Yeah.
And then...
Like kids, family day,
exactly.
Of course.
Well, it's funny. I had those people in the audience. It's like some people were threatening me. They're like, "You're upsetting my children. I'm going to kill you." Like literally things. I'm like, "You're saying that right in front of your kids?" Like,
wow, big bonnets, bees in their big bonnets.
It just shows like how rational they're really thinking about it. Totally. The hypocrisy of saying, "Oh, you're upsetting my kids, but I'm going to threaten violence on you in front of them now."
It's not. It's just what.
But when they get out of their head and start thinking about how upset they are, then after that anger leaves the situation,
they home.
Might stop thinking about themselves and start thinking about the victims and why we're doing this. Like, for example, before I became an animal rights activist, I spent thousands of dollars to become a teacher so I could travel the world teach English overseas.
Right.
And that was like it for me. I was like, cool, let's do this. And then I came across animal rights. By no means did I think I could become rich and famous or anything doing this. I just saw something that was more important than me. And I was like, how can I make this difference? I definitely do not want to be doing this the rest of my life. I want a world that's not exploiting animals as fast as yesterday.
Yeah.
I would like to get back to my dreams. But until then, I know in this world, well, I don't know what happens after we die, but I know one thing that's existing, and that's suffering. And that's why I plead and beg for animal lovers to speak up. And if you're not a vegan or an animal rights activist, at least look into it deeply. Why? You're sure there might be some angry vegans or whatever. They just stand out. Negativity stands out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Doesn't it?
But there's so many beautiful people in this world, vegan, even not vegan, and they're trying to do their best. But when we come across these things that are happening, you can be one of those people that speak up and do something about it.
Well, that's right. And I myself actually, Brian, that you mentioned that, I actually met Brian last Friday, and he was out doing some great stuff for Anonymous, animal rights group. You might have seen them in Brisbane Square with their videos playing and their masks on and handing out cards. I was on my way to a job interview or something, whatever it was, and ran into Brian, which was meant to be a little bit uncanny, and we just started speaking about veganism and whatnot, and I myself am converting to veganism at the moment, and I'm still a very big meat eater, and I always have. And I admitted that to Brian on the spot, and he had all the compassion. I even got teary. Yep, I did it. I'm a teary carnivore. And he just had compassion and just had understanding for me and said, hey, I used to be a meat eater too. It's okay. If you make a small step every day towards not eating meat and not, that you're doing something. So Brian, I just want to say thank you for being and doing such amazing work and being that compassionate voice that I needed to hear regarding that sort of thing. Because like you said about angry vegans, I think people do have that kind of, they're a vegan, like I better not, but that's just a stigma.
Yeah,
it's just another stigma.
And sometimes it's just passion, like when you make the connection and you come across these things, and I did it too. When I first became a vegan, I was getting in arguments with my mum and stuff. But I'd finally seen the truth. Actually, before I was a vegan, I was a vegetarian. I actually went back to eating meat for a little while, and then I felt super guilty. And then I came across more in-depth truth, and I saw what happens to male chicks in the egg industry, how they get killed on the first day of their life because they're considered a waste product. And I couldn't stand it anymore. And then my compassion comes into it. Like, I don't think anyone who eats meat is a bad person, but their choice to continue supporting an industry that's killing animals when it's not necessary, that's a bad choice. And we can make a better one every single day. Boom. Saving lives one meal at a time.
100%, yeah. I like your style. I like your attitude, Brian. Very, very good.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, we might go to a track now. We've been having a bit of a gab on now for about, I think it's been about 10 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed it, my dear listener. So we'll play a track or two now, and then we'll come back and have a bit of a chat, a bit more of a chat about Brian and how he got into activism and becoming a vegan. And I think Andrew's got a guest coming in as well, who's just outside, so it's be wonderful to have a chat with. That was great. No, that's great on air conversation, that's just
I wanted to
That's
say,
great stuff.
when you see what's happening, then you got to get passionate and worked up. Like, it's hard to stay calm when you're seeing animals getting
It
killed.
is.
And I kind of changed what I said a little bit.
You can have 2 on 1 microphone. What was your name, sorry? Che? Ooh. Oh yeah. The sweet, sweet sounds of the Holy Roller Coasters there on 4ZZZ you are tuned into. And the show is Eco Radio for another 20 minutes or so. Hey, thanks for being with us if you've tuned in for the whole show. We have been chatting about SeaWorld, animal rights and Qantas. And we are going to continue the talk about animal rights today. I've got another lovely guest, Tay, in the studio with me here from the Animal Liberation of Queensland, and it is their 40th anniversary, so that's 40 years of liberating animals in Queensland, which is fantastic. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the Animal Lib today, Che, and what you guys have been through and where you guys are today?
Sure. So we're an animal advocacy organisation. We focus all throughout Queensland. Obviously, a big part of our focus is where the most animals are used, so animals in agriculture, but we've also expanded to include animals in entertainment, so things like horse racing, greyhound racing was obviously a big one a few
Wonderful.
years ago. All sorts of things. Small organisation, but I think we have a pretty big impact for our size. And some of our biggest wins in the past have been the duck shooting in Queensland was banned in 2006, and the greyhound live baiting expose in 2015.
The duck shooting one's a big one too, especially in Queensland. I know personally, even not in the country, I'm from up Sunshine Coast hinterland. It is a huge thing, was a huge thing, duck shooting for sport. So that's really great.
That's right. It's important to get that across the line, and also to see sort of Queensland actually lead the way on something, because quite often, especially in animal welfare, we can be dragging our heels.
Big time.
But this one we're actually still more than a decade ahead of some of our counterparts in Victoria. So
it's a nice change for Queensland. Yeah, wonderful. And how long have you been involved with the Animal Liberation Queensland for?
I've been involved about 7 or 8 years officially, but then
wonderful.
sort of attending protests and events for quite a few years before that as well.
Right, and before that you just you just have compassion for animals. What drove you to become involved?
Went vegetarian at quite a young age.
Right.
Thought I was doing everything right, but didn't connect the dots with dairy and egg until sort of finished school. Started doing a lot of research myself, and then that was it. Sort of went vegan. Started finding any way that I could get involved in more advocacy, and tried a bunch of different things, and eventually got involved with Animal Liberation in Queensland.
Awesome. So 40 years. Woohoo. Is there anything that marks the special date? Anything that you guys are doing or celebrating in particular?
Yeah, we just had a celebration just last weekend. It was really well attended. Great night. It's really good just to reflect on some of our history and some of the wins, and bring everyone together. It's been really interesting delving into the history and
cool.
Seeing where we came from.
That's right, and sort of the battles that you guys have come through and whatnot.
What sorts of things with that? I mean, in your level of experience there, but I guess some of the people that have been involved, for that long, and at that event, Glenn Surgis from Animals Australia, I think, has been doing it for about 40 years. Listening to all those sort of people, what do you believe's changed for good and for bad in terms of public attitudes and in terms of government and industry attitudes to animal advocacy?
Yeah, I think we're definitely seeing a shift in public attitudes. I mean, animal welfare is high on people's list, and recent government surveys have found that well over 90% of people are concerned about animal welfare and believe we need proper reform. That doesn't necessarily translate to people keeping animals off their plate, but it's a step in the right direction.
What do you think those barriers are? I mean, use the live export one, where pretty much from 40 years has been campaigning against that, and I think every survey I've ever seen, there's massive public support for banning live export. It feels like, almost every time there's an expose, there's massive public outrage, justifiably, at unspeakable cruelty, and yet it just continues on. Why do you think that is?
That's right. Well, it really comes down to politics, and I guess that's why we managed to get
Why people hate politics.
Yeah, we managed to get duck shooting across the line in Queensland, but not in Victoria, probably where the shooters and fishers parties and things like that have happened to hold a balance of power at times and things like that. So it's all about politics and negotiation, and it can be a bit depressing at times. But
so speaking of the politics side of it, we were just talking off air there, but there's a lot of talk and in fact actual legislation federally at the moment explicitly targeting animal activists using what I think is a terrible label of vegan terrorists. I mean, if you label somebody terrorist these days, the laws about terrorism are horrendous. You know, the penalties and the powers, police powers. So to even as a joke call somebody a terrorist, I think is shocking. But it's explicitly targeting animal activists who are basically whistleblowers who are going onto farms not to burn things down, but you know, a bit like we heard with the SeaWorld example, you're there to draw attention. You know, hey, look at this, everybody. In the case of farm or so-called farms with battery cages or piggeries, it's really just trying to shine a spotlight on what's happening on the cruelty, and yet those offences now, criminal charges, potential jail terms. At federal level, and these laws we've heard about at state level from the state Labor government targeting supposedly anti-Adani protesters, but they're really all sorts of protests that gets in the way of industry. And the LNP, I think, are talking about making those even wider. How do you know the people you work with, and Brian, we've just been hearing from, I mean, does that make you think, oh, geez, well, this is dangerous? Should we back out of this? I mean, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, well, firstly, it's disappointing that the government are taking this stand and, you know, try to demonise people. But I try to take a positive view of that, and it's clear that we're having an impact. Otherwise, they wouldn't be trying to take these measures to stop us. And going to back to the politics before, I do think a lot of these laws, I mean, it certainly will make it hard for certain types of actions and things, but yeah, a lot of it really is about, you know, posturing to, you know, get Conservative or farmer votes. So we really have to wait and see what effects this will have in the courts and how much it will actually stop people.
That's the thing with politics. Like, a lot of people will bring up politics when I'm doing, you know, activism, and it's not as simple as getting the politics or the politician or government or whatever, because there's so much money behind it. But that's why we talk to the consumers, all the people who are going to SeaWorld and buying animal products and all that sort of thing. Because when they take the dollar out of the equation, these businesses are making, because they're in it for the money. And when they're not making the money, they're not going to continue going. So that's why people as individuals can make a massive difference by just moving their hand to a different animal product or going to a theme park that doesn't use animals.
So the veganism example, where there's obviously a big wave of just growing consumer interest in for all sorts of reasons, not just animal issues, but health and environment. And the one other question I did want to ask is, and Jay, you've had an experience as well in the environment movement more broadly. One thing that often frustrates me is you get a lot of focus, rightly, on coal and fossil fuels and people demanding that we not make massive coal mines, but there's so little focus amongst many environment groups and parties about the environmental impacts of animal products and eating animal products, which is, according to a lot of science, just as being an impact. Do you find that frustrating, and why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely frustrating, and yeah, I worked in the environment movement for a long time as well, and, you know, can definitely relate. But I think the science is pretty clear now. I mean, you can argue about the exact percentage and the exact, you know, how many megatons of CO2 equivalent, but the science is clear that, you know, animal agriculture is one of the biggest causes of climate change on the planet. And it's also the easiest thing that we can do as individuals. I mean, a lot of us may still have to fly or drive to work or, you know, things we can't completely stop at this stage, or a lot of us may not be in position to put solar panels on our roof. But, you know, most of us can cut out meat and dairy and eggs, like that. If not, at least dramatically cut down straight away. It's the easiest personal choice we can make.
That's right. It's a really fantastic point. So if you are wanting to make a change and it's all bothering you, that is a fantastic small, minor, but also large-scale decision and change that you can make that will help and spread out further in this sort of crisis that we're in this time. So really good point there, Che.
So it's easy to say to people in central Queensland, well, you can't, a family that gets their income from mining, well, you bad luck, sorry, no more coal mine. But then the people saying that might do the much easier direct personal impact of just changing how they eat or campaigning on that. I guess both as vegan activists, you still get a fair bit of kickback, even though veganism is getting more popular. People get quite personally affronted when you talk about what they might do in changing their diet.
They really do, yeah. I mean, I think it's deeply cultural for a lot of people, and it's part of their identity. And yeah, I guess they can feel confronted as well. And it also, I mean, to confront it properly, it may mean that, you know, you may feel like you've been doing the wrong thing in the past, and you've got to kind of confront that and, you know, come to terms with that in yourself, which a lot of people would rather push aside and not worry about.
just blame the coal miners.
Exactly, yeah. It's much easier to point the finger at someone else and say, you stop doing this. I mean, going back to what you mentioned before, live export, I think part of the reason that's been, such a massive public outcry is because it's much easier for people to point the finger at, the way another country is treating their animals, rather than actually looking how we treat our own here and how their own choices actually impact on that. And we saw a similar thing with greyhound racing as well. Like, the response to that was massive, I think, because, the average person in the public, the average voter or consumer, isn't necessarily involved in greyhound racing in any way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a good point there. People's guilt kind of getting the better of them and not allowing them to, I don't know, do the right thing, I suppose, I guess, really. So, very interesting. Animal rights news here on Eco Radio, the Peace and Environment Show. Thank you to my wonderful guests today, Andrew, Che and Brian, and also Romala there in the corner as well. Can't forget about lovely Marley. So thank you, good dears, for coming in and having a chat with me and yourselves about the animal rights stuff. It's been really great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Really great. Brian, before you go, I'd just like to let listeners know about some stuff coming up and a few resources.
The resources?
Yeah, that'd be great if you've got them on you.
Well, this event's always happening, so if you're an activist or a vegan who's not quite yet a street activist, honestly, the biggest tip I could give you is use Facebook as your friend. Jump online and type in, you could be from like America or New York, and type in Vegans New York and just go in your group and go, hey, I'm really interested in becoming an animal rights activist. Is there anything going on? I can guarantee you so many people will want to support you and help you do that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, if you're not a vegan, you think vegans are pushy, but you love animals and you want to give it a go, I guarantee you, if you reach out and say you want to help being a vegan, so many people will want to help you. And I'm sure you might come across the odd negative person or whatever here and there. Don't focus on them. Focus on the good bloke, good chick,
Absolutely.
whoever.
You can even message the Eco Radio page. I know I'm not personally a vegan, but I can put you onto many wonderful people that will give you lovely tips. Even Brian himself, I'm sure he will give you some tips.
100%.
So that's one thing. There you go.
Humble plug, just message me on Vegan Life Change if you want.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll give you any resources you want. But
Fantastic.
Also, if you claim to be an animal lover, and I believe, sorry, I don't mean to word like that, but if you're an animal lover and you're still eating animal products and you think we sound like lunatics or something like that, especially in Australia, I applaud you to watch Dominion. Go to www.watchdominion.com and see what's actually happening to animals. Australia is number 2 in the world for animal cruelty, behind Japan. We are crueler to animals, we're technically crueler to animals than China, and they boil dogs alive.
Yeah.
And we are considered worse than them in terms of animal welfare.
Now, I don't think a lot of people believe that statement. I really
100%.
don't, until they watch the movies, until they see it, until they see things like the Anonymous Group and yourself do and show and play in the middle of a busy city on a Friday afternoon. I don't think it actually sinks in. I know it doesn't for me.
Yeah.
And I've actually recently been watching a lot of really confronting videos, and it's really got me more in the direction of giving up meat, because it's, to be honest, it's kind of making me sick anyway. But anyway, continue, Brian.
I just want to say, too, to highlight, I love people. I've got so many people in my life who aren't vegan. I love them. I don't think you're a bad person. But there's so many people who will say they talk about it. Remember, most vegans, like 99.9% of vegans, have eaten animal products before. It's not a cult. We've gone from doing something our entire life to doing something completely different out of compassion because it's the right thing to do. Veganism is not a diet. Veganism is an ethical choice where we are choosing to not support industries that are exploiting animals when it's not necessary, when we can literally move our hand in the supermarket and just grab something else. So honestly, if you want to give veganism a go, trust me, it might be hard to change a habit at first, but it gets easy. It's autopilot for me. I love food, as you can tell. I love vegan burgers, pizzas, donuts, ice cream, you name it, I eat it, right? But as long as it's not an animal coming from animal causing. So if you want to give veganism a go, it's really simple. Go to a website called www.vegan22, so vegan22.com, and you can sign up to this 22-day challenge. It's 100% free, and you can try to be a vegan for 22 days, and you can ask any questions you want on the forums about health, nutrition, where to go, whatever it is. There's no dumb question if you don't know the answer, and that's your shot at trying to be a vegan. And remember, so we've been on both sides of the fence. Now you're giving it a go. So if you're trying it and you slip up and you have cheese or whatever, or egg, remember animals are killed by dairy and eggs, so please look into it. Don't beat yourself up though. Third day, just keep on going, and eventually you'll get it. So there's actually a question I want to ask you, Jorja.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah. I know you're open to going vegan, and I don't want to pressure you, but I don't know if this would be the first time on the air, but would you like to start today and give the 22-day challenge a go?
100%. I'm really glad you asked me, Brian.
Yes!
I would love to give this go starting today, starting actually right now. So that just happened on air, my friends. I'm trying it for 22 days. I will report back to you next week. We will be just a little bit way through. You can see my failures and my accomplishments. So yes, I accept your challenge,
Heck
Brian.
yeah.
You hear that, listeners? This girl going no meat for 22 days. Yeah.
Got a vegan radio show host.
Oh, we're getting the real deal now. So that's really awesome. Thanks, Brian. And I'll also chuck that link to the 22-day vegan challenge on the Eco Radio Facebook page and also on our website. So you can get all the info there and start your 22 days of a meat-free, clean living, my good dear. Can't jump on the ship with me or jump off the ship. So shall we say?
Should give a special plug to Animal Lib as well. For people.
Yes.
That's 40 years. It's pretty impressive.
It is.
It's almost as old as 4ZZZ. Older than the Wilderness Society, older than the Greens. To last for 40 years for a volunteer animal activist organisation. But you don't survive for 40 years without people joining. We're usually spruiking people on Triple Z to subscribe, which we still do again. Subscribe.
Yeah.
But you can always join up. You've got a website and all those things as well, I'm sure.
Yep, head along to alq.org.au or just look up Animal Liberation Queensland on Facebook or any social media. Yep. I'll also mention the follow on from Brian was saying, the best way to find out more about veganism is head along to the Brisbane Vegan Expo coming up on the 19th and 20th of October. Animal Lib Queensland will have a stall there, as will many other amazing groups. You can talk about getting more involved, and I'm sure there'll be so much amazing food to sample, from donuts and ice creams and everything else, and burgers that Brian was just talking about as well. So it should be a great weekend.
I really want to say this too, for any farmers that are listening, vegans do not hate farmers. Majority of us know that you're trying to make a living, but there are better ways and businesses do go down. I really want to point out, and if you ever want to reach out to us and have a conversation or anything, if you want help or any ideas, you want to see sustainable businesses. So I didn't mean if I cut you off, Shay, but I don't think farmers are bad people. And as a vegan, I feel like majority of vegans would agree with me, because we used to pay them. We used to be a part of them. And these people are trying to make a living, but there's ways to make a living without killing animals. So I love people, farmers. I respect you as a human being, but there are a better way. And if we can have a conversation about that,
come together and have a conversation,
absolutely.
not fight against each other, but come together and work on a solution. That's the only way. I think we're all adults, aren't we? We can do it, you know. Anyway, we are encroaching on synesthesia now, so we will let this wonderful song fade out, and we will say thank you to our wonderful guests today. Thank you, guests, you bloody lovely humans.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for all the work that you do, and never stop. We are here at 4ZZZ are fully behind you and all the work that you do, and would love to give you a voice in the future as well for some more work. So. Yay!
Good luck on your challenge.
Oh yeah, the 22-day challenge. Don't forget to go on and do the 22-day challenge. Also, check out the Facebook page and 4ZZZ page on 4ZZZ.org.au for any of the information we have spoken to today, or to listen back to the show for up to 6 weeks. Now I will shush up and let the wonderful synesthesia take you through till 3. Excuse me, if I can get the words out. This has been Eco Radio for the last hour on 4ZZZ. Have a wonderful day, my good dears. You. Yes.
Nice. Let the challenge begin.
That was awesome. Yeah. So she's a vegan now.
One of us.
Yay! Yes, let's do that. Okay, so.
I wonder if that's ever happened on radio.
Yes, I'm actually
Give
so
me a well
excited
first,
that you challenged me to that. So I've got the 22-day vegan challenge I'd like to put on the website, and the Animal Liberation Queensland website, and that's just Animal Liberation.
alq.org.au.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we used to have Animal Liberation QLD. It's like on a t-shirt, it's just like this long. It's like 3 letters, much easier.
That's good. Cool. Yep, cool. So the ALQ and the 22-day vegan challenge, I'll pop up on the Facebook page.
Awesome.
Is there anything else you want me to put in?
Do you want to put the Brisbane Vegan Expo too?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Plug.
And you got Vegan 22 and stuff in there.
Vegan 22. Yeah, that's the.
Oh yeah.
What's the web name?
It's www.vegan22.com or www.challenge22.com.
Vegan 22.
Yeah. And there's www.watchdominion or www.dominionmovement.com as well. And that's what happens to animals in Australia.
Yeah, watchdominion.com.
Watchdominion.com. Yeah.
Watchdominion.com.
Yeah.
So www.vegan22.com. What's the other one? www.challenge.
Challenge22.com. It's the same as Vegan22, just a different URL.
I'll just put them both in so people have double the chance.
Yeah, I think Challenge22 was designed more as like, you don't see vegan, just get put off straight away. You open the link and go,
Okay, yeah, I like
Because
that.
humans like a challenge too. Like,
Yeah,
I
totally.
can win this,
I like the Challenge 22 one. So we've got the Vegan 22, Brisbane Vegan Expo, and ALQ. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jay, for coming in today.
No worries, my
It's
pleasure.
really
I
great.
hope I didn't cut you off at the end.
No, that's
I just
good.
got to remember thinking the farmer thing. I have to say that.
That's good. That's why I do that shit.
I was actually having a good, I went along to one of the
I wanted to say transparency.
support
Yeah.
things out of Lowood and having a good chat with the farm says.
Oh, cool.
That was so good. I really felt like that was a good, informative show with a lot of different views and peoples and things to say, not just
Yeah.
my bloody rapping on. And, you know, I can only say so much. There's only so much I know about.
And now I can switch back into goofball mode.
Yeah, me too. Woo! It's not my normal mode.
Awesome. Well, thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me.
Just feel free to go out through the back way or down reception, whichever way you prefer. So nice to meet you, Chatty. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, bro. Ride safe.
I'm so happy when the show goes well. Especially a new show. Thank you so much for coming in, Andrew. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did.
That was awesome.